Hello, welcome back to A Spiritual Ascension, my own 5-year journey where I'm telling everything about what happened to me on my ascension journey that started in April of 2020 and ended in April 2025. What happened before and what has happened since. Um, if you're just coming into this for the first time, please go back to episode 1, the introduction video, and go from there. Because if you kind of come into the middle of this, you're gonna kind of get lost, okay? So when I left off, I had just arrived in Brooklyn, and my friend who had been helping me along the way, um, providing funds for me to stay at some hotels, um, had told me to, when I landed in Manhattan on Wednesday night, Thursday morning, he had told me to come down to Brooklyn where he lived. And he managed to, he had a friend who had a had an apartment that she didn't use. So she had said to him, he was living with a roommate at the time. So he couldn't like bring me to his place because it was really small. And this friend had told him that if he ever wanted to kind of get away from, his apartment for a couple of days or whenever he needed it, he could use her apartment because she wasn't using it as she was, what do you call it, like a in-home um, care worker. So she was gone like all the time. So he had contacted her and she said that he could use the apartment. The thing that I need you to recognize is while you're on your journey, these almost like, even though it seemed like a everyday situation that, his friend had, I guess owed him one. And she had told him, if you ever need to use my apartment, feel free. But understand that all these things, excuse me, have already been worked out ahead before you even attempted to go on this journey. Like spirit was already watching over you. This was already in your soul contract that these things would happen along your path. So this is not by any coincidence or anything. It's these synchronicities that are coming into play. Um, so we had got to the apartment, as I kind of described to you. She was kind of a hoarder, so it was kind of hard to maneuver through um, through all the things that she had. But I was just grateful that um, there was a bed, there was a bathroom, and I didn't need anything else at that point. Um, I thought he was going to go, like, leave me there and then go back to his apartment at night and then come, like, check on me. And I had told him, I said, you don't have to stay here with me. And he's like, why wouldn't I? Kind of like, so understand too that I hadn't we had a very short relationship back in 2010, I think. And like there's these reasons why people come into your life at a certain time. That even though he didn't play that big of a part in my life back in 2010, it was meant for us to meet then so that he could play a bigger part later on when I was on my journey. So look for those type of things when you are on your journey, that people that you meet, they're there for a reason. Okay. Um, so I'm like telling you guys everything. It's kind of embarrassing in a way, but the story's got to be told. Anyway, I guess he was expecting that we would kind of start something up again since I was there. And I was in no condition to even be thinking on those terms at all. I had just been through a week and a half of this traumatic, mental, spiritual, physical. It felt like what do you call it when they do a I can't say it. Triathlon. There we go. When someone has done all these, it's like a mental challenge, a physical challenge, you're spiritually challenged because you're also saying to the divine, is this what I'm supposed to be going through? Is this right? Did I make a mistake along the way somehow? And understanding that no, you didn't make a mistake. This was part of, I hate to use the word test, but part of building up your strength to have this trust in the divine, because that's going to also play a big part later on when you're done. And that's where I'm at right now is I've learned this complete trust in the divine, in the universe. And even when things come up now, I'm kind of like saying, am I doubting this, And then things always work out somehow. Um, I still had, so as I told you, I had contacted my ex, who I thought I was going to get married to. And as I told you, he had provided me $200 to get hotel room. And he had said to me, I still love you. So in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like there's still something there. And I was holding on to this hope now that possibly he is still the one, even though we hadn't, it had now been 2 years, even though it had been almost 2 years since we had been in contact, that was giving me hope. It was also giving me an illusion. Okay. An illusion is we have these things come up in our mind and we want to hold on to them, but they're created in our mind and it's so far away from reality. Okay. And you're also going to come up. I think it's also because we are so connected at this time with the universe, with the divine, and we're living so much in the 5D that it's hard for us sometimes to separate what we're feeling on a subconscious level and kind of connect that with the 3D. And that's something we really have to be careful of. And I went through a lot of that, and I'm sure you will too. And now I've learned that if something that I have to watch what things that I create in my mind. And I'm kind of in that in between, you want to say 4D level where a lot of times I am, spending so much time still with the divine, but I'm now living a life in the 3D. Whereas when I was on that journey, it was all about concentrating on spirit. Where do you want me to go? Spirit, what should I do next? And just being in that 3D, that connection that is like unbreakable. It's so profound. But anyway, as I said, my friend thought since I was there and he had helped me out, let me see what kind of friend this was, that maybe him and I could start something. And I told him, I really didn't want that. First of all, I wasn't telling him the reason why I didn't want it because thought I was going to have this relationship with my ex again, that he was my divine partner, that he was my, if you want to say twin flame. And he, so over the next couple of days, he stayed there with me, but the, there was a lot of tension between us. And he would go out and he would get us food. And then, um, we kind of just laid around all day and I did a lot of journaling and just a lot of sleeping. Um, he was doing his work, but he was able to do it from like home base. So he was able to take like his computer with him and he was kind of just doing it from there. Even though there was like tension between us as far as him wanting to have something going there, um, if you know what I mean. Um, we were actually pretty good together for spending 24 hours together. So let's see, we went in Thursday night. So from the Friday after, so I landed in Manhattan on Wednesday, was out on the street Wednesday night. He had put me up at a hotel on Thursday, and then we went to the apartment on Friday night. So we ended up staying there a whole week. And then he was at the point where, like, I'm doing this for you, and like, you won't even, have, as you can assume, something with me. And I'm like, no, 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 no. So the next, he said to me, he goes, we're leaving in the morning. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, where am I going to go? And like, I've been depending on him for help and everything. Um, so I was going to be back out on the street again. So the next morning, um, we got up and we straightened everything out and walked out on the street. Um, Walked onto the main thoroughfare, what do you say, Main Street down there in Brooklyn. And he kind of turned to me and said, I can't help you anymore. And I knew the reason why he didn't want to help me was because I didn't want to have any kind of relations with him. And not that he wasn't like attracted to him in that way, but again, he was younger than me. I was past all that from when I was back in 2010, and um, I wasn't even, hadn't even had my awakening at that point. And I was just so intent in getting back to who I thought my divine partner was. So anyway, I had to put trust in the divine, and I said, that's fine, no problem. And he walked away. And so I'm just kind of sitting there on a bench and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Because now I don't have any help. But that's the thing, is when you come into situations like this, know that I thought I put the time on. Oh no. Okay, I'm going to end it in a second. Um, just know that you have to put your total trust in the universe because they are with you 100%. Another video I said about talking to your ancestors because they're the ones leading you on this path, okay? Um, I ended up going to the nearby library. And when I went there, it was closed, and I had walked all the way to it, which was a distance. I got there, it had been closed. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So then I found another one. I had to walk all the way to that one. And as I told you, my ankles were so swollen because of the, um, what do you call it? The swelling in my ankles from just having had been on my feet so much. And I had a little bit, they had gone down somewhat while I was there for those 7 days in that apartment. Um, but I didn't want to start that, building that fluid back up in my legs, and didn't have the right kind of shoes on. And again, I had a few more. He had gotten me like, some undergarments, and I had a few t-shirts now that I could kind of wash out and stuff, but I still didn't really have anything. Um, so I'm going to leave this one here and I'll go into what happened next. Um, Thank you again for being here. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to have a reading with me or just talk about your own journey, there's a link below to book time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.